Hello, BookTube. I come to you on a bleak and barren Monday. Made so because it's a federal holiday. So there's no mail for Steve, and no post offices are open for Steve to mail books to others. And to add insult to injury, the federal holiday in question is President's Day, which in 2017 in America is a mockery and not worth celebrating. So to console myself, I'm going to do a tag on a Monday. And I have a great one. I was actually tagged by the masters of the BookTube tag, Literary Gladiators. This is the this or that book tag, designed, I think, to underscore the wide variety of choices that we have here in the book world, which is good for me to remember on a day like today. And question number one is hardcover, paperback, or ebook? If I have to choose, hands down, without a second's hesitation, ebooks. I love them so. They're infinitely storable, infinitely portable, infinitely annotatable. I love them, which seems kind of odd considering that I'm on camera every day, except today, unpacking piles of physically printed books, but nevertheless, ebooks. Question number two, American, British, or world lit? In terms of the literature itself, I'm sure that this question refers to fiction. All questions in BookTube refer to fiction. Somebody should do a nonfiction book tag, but in the meantime, I'm assuming this means fiction. And when it comes to the literature itself, I don't really have a preference. When it comes to the publishing world, America, hands down. Our publishing world is much more robust than any other publishing world in the West. You have to go to Japan to find its equal. So in terms of the sheer torrent of variety, America. Question number three, library, bookstore, or online? This is for acquiring books. I'm afraid I don't go to the library for acquiring books anymore, and I don't go online at all. Not just because it removes all the elements that I like about hunting for and finding books. It removes the serendipity, it removes the thrill of the hunt. But also because I don't know if this is just in the last 10 years or so, but I've noticed in the last 10 years, the occasions when I have bought something online, secondhand, that sellers just lie. They don't even exaggerate anymore. They just lie. They say this book has no markings, covered in markings. They say this book's cover is intact, it's hanging off like an amputated limb. Ridiculous. And I think they know that if you pay $2 for a book and it's shipped to you 5 weeks later, the odds are you're not going to go to the mat to get satisfaction out of them, or that they do such high volume that they don't care. I don't know one way or another, but not online and not libraries, so bookstores. And for me, that would be the Brattle Bookshop here in Boston, because I don't need it. I don't need a new retail bookstore, except for the occasional indulgence here and there. I don't need one. I get plenty of books without going to the bookstore. Question number four: series, trilogy, or standalone? Despite the fact that series books, trilogies, and series books have pleased me immensely in my life, my impulse is always towards standalone because I think it imposes a greater control on the author, a greater discipline that series and standalones don't. They indulge an author, and I as a result, I very seldom will see a trilogy that's as tightly composed as a standalone, when by rights they should be. So I'll stick with standalones, although you'd be hard pressed to tell that looking at the books in this department. There are plenty of series and trilogies. Question number five: sci-fi, fantasy, or horror? I think my taste here is probably fantasy. Horror has always struck me as a little beside the point, because fiction doesn't scare me any more than horror movies scare me. It's just a switch that has stayed in the off position. Although I should point out, those the purists among you might not like hearing it, but I should point out that all three of those are the same. Sci-fi, fantasy, and horror. They are all fictional stories that take place according to a internally consistent scheme of how things work that is not the internally consistent scheme of how things work that we see around us. If you take that as a definition, all three are the same thing. Maybe with different goals in mind. I don't know. Question number 6. Ginsberg, Kerouac, or Burroughs? I'm in the weird position of picking none, and for the reason that they are all the same. Same thing as sci-fi, fantasy, and horror. Not one of the three of them ever wrote a single worthwhile thing. Ever. Number 7, new or used. Well, I get a ton of new books every day, and of course I like them because of the new factor, because a lot of times I haven't read them, sometimes I haven't even heard about them. Used is a more rarefied enjoyment. It's when I find something at the Brattle that is a particular edition that I've always wanted, or that is an oh wow moment where I see something that I didn't know existed, that I think probably new, just for the way my life is set up now. Question number 8, Whitman or Frost? A delightful question, a delightfully bookish question, but come now. Frost is an attitude. Whitman is a whole world. They really don't compare. So I'm going to go with Whitman. Question number 9, Emerson or Thoreau? You certainly don't know how to hurt a New Englander. This is an impossible question to ask someone who's been to Walden Pond as many times as I have. I think I'm going to go with Emerson. I know he has his detractors. There was a hilarious piece a couple of years ago in one of the political magazines. I think it was the Claremont Review of Books, titled "Where's Waldo?" That was just meant to be a soup to nuts dismissal of the guy from the Western canon. But I think he's wonderful. I really like his writing a little bit more than Thoreau. Thoreau seems a little showboaty at times, but it's tough. There are times there've been whole years where I was in a Thoreau frame of mind. Question number 10, Gail or Pita? We, of course, will draw a distinction here between the movies and the books. In the books, Gail and Pita are both just ridiculous semi-approximations of believable three-dimensional male characters. I wouldn't pick either one of them. They're both sad sack lumps of laundry. In the movies, there's at least an aesthetic aspect. There's at least a visual aspect. So in the movies, you have a visual choice between a 6-foot-tall 5-pack-a-day tobacco addict and a 4-foot-tall 5-pack-a-day tobacco addict. So I'd probably go with Gail. Question number 11, craft book or cookbook? I don't think I've ever read an example of either, unless maybe for cookbook you count Julia Child's The Way to Cook, but I didn't read it for the recipes, so I don't know. The question puts its finger directly on a vast area of publishing about which I know nothing and into which I do not venture. Mainly because in my line of work, craft books and cookbooks can't be reviewed. You can only review them for the specialty audiences for whom they are written, and it's just not my audience. So I actually don't pick either one. I certainly don't have a preference. Question number 12, magic tricks or science experiments? I am an old world Irish country bog trotter. As far as I'm concerned, they're the same thing. And I'm happy to watch either one. Question number 13, coffee or tea? Don't drink either. I'll have a cup of tea with my Chinese food once a week, but only because my boy's mother and his grandmother insist on bringing it to the table, and they don't like me to not touch it. That's kind of an insult. So, but I've never seen the appeal to either, and I don't regularly drink either. Question number 14, dogs or cats? Dogs rule, cats drool. Okay. And question number 15, hamburgers or hot dogs? Kind of a non-bookish and extremely barbaric way to end an otherwise gentlemanly tag. I will, of course, pick hot dogs because at least they don't have anything in them that was ever once alive. And that's it. That is the this or that book tag, which is it's kind of off the beaten track for BookTube tags, and I liked it for that reason. And I want to tag everybody of course. Who did I? Sue and Jen and Jess and Britt and Britta and Luke Lane Reeds and Adam at Memento Mori, and also Midworld Review. I haven't tagged him yet, and I want to. Ben Sanders, if he has a chance to do it. Eric Kyle Anderson from The Lonesome Reader. I'd love to hear the answers. I'd love to hear anybody's answers to this. But that's it for me. I'm going to go back to just sort of forlornly staring at the mail slot. This torture of federal holidays, but it'll be over soon, and then we'll be back to normal. Thank you, BookTube.